Oh boy, we have a huge weekend in the NFL, a lot of big games coming up, and we also have some big NBA games today. I guess you can consider them big. I think they're a joke, but it's the NBA In-Season Cup, NBA Cup, whatever it's called. I don't care. We'll talk about it, though, because it's relevant to that in basketball. And, of course, we'll talk about this week's slate of NFL games on today's Short Take Saturday. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day today. I am Andrew Hody from Raw Takes, and I just want to let you know, if you haven't seen this week's slate of Raw Takes, please make sure to check it out. I did the frozen Raw Takes in the cold weather. Well, it was in the warmth of my truck, but make sure to check out Thursday's edition and Tuesday's edition with my buddy Jerome. Shout out to him. Jerome Pedikowskis, the host of the Cleveland Sports Realm with Kevin Shagru. Their link will be in the description as well for this video, but make sure to check out their podcast as well. They do a terrific job over there. Jerome, a good buddy of mine from college, and a huge Cleveland sports fan. So let's get things started. We'll start off with the NFL, and we'll talk some basketball after that. The Cleveland Cavaliers with a nice win, of course, for us over here in Cleveland. Let's start things off locally with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. This game is big for the Kansas City Chiefs to try to win on. I mean, Harrison Butker's coming back, although Matthew Bright already got the special teams player of the week, but that's just life in the NFL. 8 for 9 on field goals, including the doink to win the division, I should say. So Kansas City with their better kicker overall, statistically. I'm sorry to Matthew Wright, even though he had a good week. He's coming back healthy. Is Taylor Swift going to be in the stands is a huge question. A lot of people in Cleveland are now questioning that, I think solely because the season's over. If you're a Swiftie, go ahead and enjoy that. I don't care personally. Taylor Swift's Taylor Swift. I'm rooting for the Browns in this game. I think the Browns actually could upset. It feels like one of those weird games where the Browns end up winning it just because you don't expect them to. But I don't think it will be like that because I just think Kansas City overall is playing with house money at this point. Yes, they win all their games close, but they still got Mahomes. They still got Kelsey. They have Kareem Hunt, who's probably going to get a standing ovation tomorrow. They have Travis Kelsey coming back to his hometown as well to play a football game. So a lot behind the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. I like the Chiefs to win it overall. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns upset, though, but give me the Chiefs in this one. Let's go 14-13. I think it's low scoring, a lot of defense. Myles Garrett may wreak some havoc, but other than that, that's my thoughts on that one. Cincinnati, Tennessee play tomorrow. Cincinnati should win that game. I just think they're a better football team than Tennessee, but nothing surprises me. I mean, let's be honest, Cincinnati should be a lot better than what they are. Their offense is absolutely spectacular, but they aren't, and that's why they're in this position. Washington, New Orleans. New Orleans, I think their season's shot. They had some nice moments, but overall it's been a really ugly season for them, and they fired a coach. So give me the Commanders in that one. They're in the playoff race, and I think they're going to be the team we end up seeing getting in that last wild card spot as well. Baltimore, the New York Giants. The Giants are awful. Give me the Ravens easily. Any given Sunday in the NFL, but to me, I don't think that's one of those games. The Baltimore Ravens should have no problem going to the Giants and win that game. Dallas at Carolina. I like Carolina in this game. I like the way Bryce Young is playing. They're at home. They've been fun to watch. I mean, they're not really good. The Panthers aren't good, and I still think they're a poor organization, but they're well coached under Dave Canales from what we've seen. Bryce Young is starting to figure some things out. That Tampa Bay Buccaneers game they had a few weeks ago was a lot of fun. I like Carolina to upset the Cowboys here, if it's even considered an upset. Either way, both these teams aren't going to the playoffs anyway. But I like Carolina to win that game. I think that's going to be a decent surprise about tomorrow. The New York Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars, two teams going nowhere quickly. Trevor Lawrence out for the year, but I still like the Jacksonville Jaguars at home to beat the Jets, and that's primarily because I just think the Jets are really a lost cause at this point. I think the only thing they're really looking forward to now is the draft and if they're going to draft a quarterback or what their future is going to be. They have a defense, I think, overall. They need to find a new head coach, and Aaron Rodgers just clearly is not the Aaron Rodgers he was in Green Bay. So I think it's a mess right now in New York, and I think that's going to reflect more with the Jacksonville win. Miami at Houston. I mean, Houston's overall the better team. I like Miami overall on paper. I know I'm kind of biased because I'm a part-time Dolphins fan, of course. But the Houston Texans, to me, I absolutely think should take this game. Not a problem asked because they need it more than Miami, because Miami I don't think is going to go anywhere. But having said that, Houston's at home. They're on slate to make the playoffs. They're kind of in the middle of a season where we really aren't sure what they're all made of. But C.J. Stroud clearly still a proven commodity, and I think the Miami Dolphins are just kind of all over the map. So I'm going to take the Houston Texans in this one. Indianapolis at Denver. That's high altitude. If Indianapolis wins this game, that means the wild card race is back on. But that's a high altitude game. Bo Nix obviously looking like an offensive rookie of the year. I'll take the Denver Broncos to win that as they keep rolling with Sean Payton, and they really haven't been talked about much this year. So the Denver Broncos are a sneaky good team. And I talked about how the collapse was coming with them all season, that I wasn't sold. I was wrong. The Denver Broncos, I think, are the real deal. Buffalo at Detroit. This is going to be, I think, the biggest game of the weekend. It stinks it's not on a Monday night or a Sunday night. I would really love to see it there, but it isn't. And so we're getting it at 4:25 tomorrow. I like Buffalo in this game just because this is probably the toughest opponent Detroit has played all year. Green Bay was probably the second toughest, I'd say. Obviously, the Rams, as of right now, probably a tougher opponent, but the Rams really weren't that good to begin the season either way, but that was still the opening game. For me, personally, I just think Detroit is going to be brought down to earth a little bit. They haven't really lost a game since they lost to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and kind of a revenge game for the postseason last year because Baker Mayfield absolutely got stompled in that game, and he kind of took it to them a few weeks ago. So I like Detroit. I mean, I like Buffalo to win, but I like Detroit to still put up a good fight. I think it's going to be a really close game. But to me, I just think Buffalo is coming off a really hot loss to the Rams, and they're really going to try to resalvage that. And I think Detroit's still in the driver's seat. They'll be just fine. But I like Buffalo in that game. I think the Buffalo Bills, and of course the short drive overall from Buffalo, New York over to Detroit, Michigan. I think there's going to be a lot of split fans in the stands. But Detroit's a tough place to play now that they're in an indoor stadium too. So, yeah, give me the Buffalo Bills in that one. I just think they're a better team right now. But Detroit is still contending in the NFC, of course. I don't think it's going to matter that much. This was an interesting stat on this next game. Pittsburgh hasn't won in Philadelphia since 1965. So I'm going to take the odds on that and say it continues. The Philadelphia Eagles are rolling. I'm still not all the way sold on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Played a lot of poor defenses. I think the Cleveland Browns just being a bad team is the reason they lost. I mean, they beat the Cleveland Browns. So for me, I think Philadelphia easily rolls the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it could be a close, tight game. But I think that streak of not winning there since 1965 continues for the Pittsburgh Steelers. New England at Arizona. I like Arizona here, but Arizona is also kind of a team that, in recent years at least, doesn't play well at the end of the season. So New England could win this game. I really don't like either one of these teams. This game is just an eh to me. But Arizona, let's see what they do. I think Arizona should win this game. Tampa Bay at the Los Angeles Chargers. Another underrated game, I think, right here. Justin Herbert versus Baker Mayfield. I like the Chargers at home. Having said that, though, I think Tampa Bay puts up a fight. They're feisty, but that's a tough defense they're playing. And Baker Mayfield's numbers overall as of late haven't been super-duper impressive. He's overall been a fun blue-collar quarterback, but I just like the Chargers there. Green Bay at Seattle. I'm going to take the Seahawks to win with the 12th man. I think the Seahawks are kind of underrated right now, and the 12th man in the stands will help them out. I like Green Bay as a team overall better, but I don't think we're talking about enough about the year Geno Smith is having. And the Seattle Seahawks currently lead the division right now. They might beat out the Rams. I still think the Rams are the overall better team, and we'll talk about them in a second. But yeah, I like Seattle in that game just because they're at home, and Green Bay is kind of in a little bit of a tricky situation coming off that loss to Detroit. But I like Seattle to win that one. Chicago at Minnesota. I think Chicago's just a mess. Give me the Minnesota Vikings easily. The Minnesota Vikings are keeping up on the tail of the Detroit Lions. I'm still not sold on the Minnesota Vikings going into a playoff game, but man, what a comeback story for Sam Darnold. And, of course, the Minnesota Vikings, though, have beaten out a lot of opponents this year, but I'm still not sold on them winning a playoff game, to be honest with you. I just am not. Something about them seems shaky. It's weird. But exceptional coaching, exceptional play from Justin Jefferson, and Sam Darnold, comeback player of the year. That's what I take for that one. Atlanta at Las Vegas. I like the Atlanta Falcons in this game because they're trying to keep up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Atlanta Falcons lose stupid games. They're just kind of not really a good football team in terms of their brain. I think Raheem Morris is overall a good coach. I think Kirk Cousins is overall pretty much just proving to be a bridge quarterback for them at this point. We could see Kirk Cousins get benched by the end of the year. I think we're coming up possibly upon that. I still like Tampa Bay to win the division overall, but Atlanta may take the division lead back if Tampa Bay loses to the Chargers, which I think they will. So give me Atlanta in this game. I don't think the Raiders have much to play for, except what are they going to do for next season. All right, and then I just want to review a little bit because that's the entire slate of the remaining games. But the San Francisco game against the Los Angeles Rams, absolutely pitiful. It was a boring game. The Rams proved to be the better team. I think the Rams are. It's their first sweep of San Francisco since 2018. The Rams should win this division, as I said. Brock Purdy is kind of a mess right now, but I actually think long-term he's not going to be a problem. I still think injuries are really the reason San Francisco's in this situation. And they cut bait with Campbell right away from the reports. I'm glad Kyle Shanahan did that because that guy was a problem on the sidelines in that game, a huge distraction, and possibly might have cost the San Francisco 49ers this game. Most bizarre sequence of events I might have ever seen in a football game outside of Antonio Brown taking his shirt off that one game against the New York Jets. So we'll see. That was an interesting situation. Of course, that was when Brown was with the Buccaneers, not the Steelers. I want to emphasize that too, but I'm sure you already knew that. That's my thoughts on the NFL right now. That's every game for this week. My predictions, my thoughts, and what you may think. Please leave a comment. Let me know here on Short Take Saturday. We're about 10 minutes now, so let's wrap up things a little bit with the NBA In-Season Cup and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Milwaukee and Atlanta are currently playing right now. Houston and Oklahoma City play tonight. Obviously, the Atlanta-Milwaukee game may be over, but I don't buy the Hawks, obviously, as a team overall. Milwaukee, I mean, if you care about the in-season tournament, maybe Milwaukee Bucks win it. Overall, they're having a pretty good stop, but, I've said over and over again, I think Doc Rivers is going to be a problem. The Oklahoma City Thunder, we know what they're doing with SGA playing even at a higher level than he did last year. And obviously, they're doing it all with no Chet Holmgren. You look at the Houston Rockets, though. You look at Jabari Smith and Jalen Green and what they're bringing in. Ime Udoka, possible candidate for Coach of the Year right now. The Houston Rockets are fun. They really are. And they're off to a hot start this year. And I don't think anyone saw that coming. But they were building something special last year because they were so exceptionally coached. And Ime Udoka does bring that. Obviously, a controversial situation that took place with the Boston Celtics. But not being the Houston Rockets head coach, he's proving to be one of the best head coaches, I think, in the NBA. Ime Udoka gets the best out of his players, and I think you're seeing that right now with the Houston Rockets. All right, the Cleveland Cavaliers over the Washington Wizards last night. Donovan Mitchell, not necessarily being the X factor. I want to talk about how you look at a guy like Jared Allen with that double-double, 21 points, 11 rebounds. He really was the star of the show overall in that game. But Darius Garland offensively, too. 24 points. Can't say enough about Kenny Atkinson, the job he's doing. Max Strus didn't make his debut yet, but he's supposed to be coming soon. And you look at a guy like, I don't know why it's not Karis LeVert. I don't know what I'm thinking right now. You look at a guy like Evan Mobley not being in that game. Excuse me. Why was I thinking Karis? I don't know. But Evan Mobley wasn't in that game either. Obviously, he's recovering from the ankle he suffered against Miami on Sunday of last week. But man, I mean, even when those two guys are down, it's the Wizards, but they're taking care of business. The Cavaliers are a really good basketball team, and this is just getting more and more fun as the season goes on. We're approaching about the 13-minute mark now, so we're going to wrap things up on Short Take Saturday, 12-minute edition, so maybe not too much of a short take, getting up close to a long edition of a raw take here. But that's today's edition of Short Take Saturday. We will be back next Saturday for some more short takes, and also make sure to stay tuned on Tuesday and Thursday for the next editions of Raw Takes with Andrew Hody. Thank you for checking this video out, and we'll see you next week.